Okay, so welcome everybody to Tarot for Shadow Work for lesson number 2. So today I'll just skip forward to, here we go, skip through to, we did lesson 1. So if you want to watch that one, you can watch lesson 1 back again. Look, and here we are, lesson number 2, the hero's journey. The story of the major arcana is what we're doing today. So this story here is the major arcana. Here's a bit of a snapshot if you can see this slide. So there is from 0 to 21 cards, so 22 cards in total for the major arcana. And it's a story of the fool. So you can call it the fool's journey, or you can call it the hero's journey, which is like the concept of the story, the traditional storytelling. I think it was Joseph Campbell. I may have that name completely wrong, but that's the thread of the storytelling. So I believe that the major arcana was the original tarot, and was based on a storytelling game. So it was the game that began was a game that was used to tell the story and to take it on the journey through all the lifetime lessons and the milestones that happen in a life to bring you from the naivety of the fool all the way through all of the lessons that you can accumulate in life to the world. And that's the symbolism of the enlightenment, the awakening, the self-actualization or realization of self-awareness. It's the journey of how to get there and what happens along the way. Now, it doesn't mean that once you've got to the world, that's it and you're done for that. It will probably come back, as the Wheel of Fortune says. What goes around will come back around again, and something else will come up and you'll be the fool once again. You'll be on the new journey and discovering something new. So that's the beautiful thing about life, is that we are always learning and we are always expanding. So it's never done. So the major arcana, as I was saying in lesson 1, translates through to the greater secrets. So this is really, if you are doing a reading and you come up across the major arcana in a spread, these are big shifts in your life. These are big things to pay attention to. They're not just the day-to-day happenings of your life. They're not just the little nitty-gritty things. These are big things are happening. These are big shifts, big transitions that you're going through, and they're things that we need to be paying attention to. So they signal the major life changes, shifts and transitions that you go through to grow and to become self-aware. So let's have a look at each card. So I've got my deck here, and as I was saying, I do refer to the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So I've separated the major arcana cards out from my deck, which is something that I recommend that you do on a regular basis to get familiar with your cards and just to lie them all out and have a look at the story. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is just we've separated the cards out and we're just looking at the major arcana. We're going to go through each one and tell the story of how the fool grows. And the reason why we look at this as the story, or I like to do the reading as a story, because it's so much easier to relate to it. And so when you come across these cards in the reading, you can be like, where are you on your journey? Where are you at, or where is your person that you're reading for, your parent, at on their journey as well? So it's a really good way to look at it as a piece of the story and the lesson that's coming up for them at that point. And what are they at the stage of coming into awareness for self-awareness, self-actualization. Okay. So we start with card 0. So card 0 is, can we see that there? The Fool. So you can see that on the screen. The Fool is at the 0. It's at ground zero, breaking point. It is the new beginning. You can see the sun is high in the sky. Or you can say he or she. The Fool is young. The Fool is ready out for an adventure. It's got the rose. It's symbolizing that they are, it's that romantic idealism of the naivety of it all, that they're about to just journey out and they're really on the edge. So you can see that he's standing right on the edge of the cliff there. So what this means is it's that stepping out into the world. It's stepping out into the unknown, and he is so close to the edge. So if you can think about a time in your life when you've been pushed to the edge, or you're about to step out into some unknown territory, and perhaps you're about to make a leap of faith into something that, you know, it's a bit scary because it's unknown, but it's something that you're really, really excited about, and it really, really lights you up, and it makes you feel that romantic, excited about this new journey, but at the same time you're shaking and you're nervous and you've got that anxiety about what will be. And so it's, where do I jump? Do I jump and have faith that things will work out? Do I hold back? You can think about the dog that's in this here, the little white dog, and what's a symbolization for that? So there's so many different things that can come through, and I've always learned tarot very intuitively, so I'm going to bring you my intuitive take on these in these symbols here. So that's where the rose comes in for me, as that romanticism of the naivety of it all, is that excitement, and this is a brilliant new journey that I'm about to step out in, and this is really exciting, and I'm really putting my heart and soul into this. The little dog that's there, I feel like that is like a spirit guide. That is a guide, like, because the dog is symbolizing of loyalty and companionship, and you've got a dog like this is spirit guide here saying, you know, you can do this. I have faith in you. Let's do this together, and encouraging you to take the leap. You know, some people look at it and say, watch out, be careful, you're about to fall off a cliff. You know, you're going to, you know, make the wrong step, or what if you fall? It's very fear driven. So you can think like, what comes up for you, and this is also when it comes up in a reading, you can look at it, what other cards are surrounding this as well. So is it about, watch out, you're about to make a mistake, you're about to fall, and you're being naive, you're not thinking this through, you don't have enough knowledge? Or is it, take a leap of faith, I've got your back, we can do this together, let's jump in, let's do it. So you're going to have to follow that with your heart and see, where are you at in your journey, and is it coming from a basis of leading from the heart, or are you coming from a basis of leading from fear? So check in with yourself on that question if you feel like you're in the position of the Fool. This is going to come up at the end when we have our discussion. Is I'm going to ask you, where do you think you are on this Fool's journey? The Fool's journey, the hero's journey, however you want to interpret that. Where do you feel like you fit in on this journey? Are you right at the beginning, or are you further along? So have a feel into which card that I bring up today is going to resonate best with you. And if you're in the Fool position, are you jumping in from your heart, or are you holding back with fear and worry about taking that step? Something to consider. Okay, so then we move into number 1. So the Magician. So if we think about this on a story basis, it's the story of the Fool, the story of the Fool's journey, and how the Fool moves through life and meets all of these parts of self, or parts of self that are reflected into the world around them. And we have the Magician. Okay, so the Magician could be, if you think about it as the Fool, as a young, vibrant, young person, naive in themselves, could be a teenage person that's leaving the world and stepping out into the world and doing new things. If we think about this as the magician that he meets in the village before he ventures out on this journey. But the Magician also, for me, symbolizes the way that we manifest. It is the realization that we can create anything in this world, that we have all of the tools that we need. So we can see in this image here that he has all of the tools. He has the pentacles, the cup, the swords, the wand, all laid out on the table in front of him. He has everything he needs right there with him to be able to, hand up in the air, command the universe. And this is really, really reflective for me of the law of attraction, the way that you can be your own alchemist and command the universe to bring to you what you need, because everything you need is already right there within your reach. Okay, you can command the universe and attract in what you need. Okay, so it's really, really going to depend on, are you at a point where you have mastered the realization, or come to the awareness that what you put out into the world you receive back. So this is reflected in the philosophies of, karma, the rule of three, what you put out returns back to you. All of those types of things are reflected in the message from the magician. Okay, so the magician is very much a masculine energy of putting out energy, of directing force of energy. And when you put out a force, when you put out a manifestation, when you are directing your thoughts and your intention, putting it out there in the universe and say, I'm going to intend that this is going to happen, I'm going to draw this into me. Okay, so that is the magician, is the commanding of universal energies. So meeting those thoughts, meeting the realization that your thoughts create your reality. So if we look at this as the rules of what is without and what is within. So what I mean is, what is going to happen in your external world, what is going to happen for you physically, whether that is the way that your alignment with your job, getting a house, attracting money, attracting relationships, all of these things. So if we look at cups as relationships, pentacles as money, swords is your thought processes, and wands is your passions and your desires. If we look at that on that aspect there, if we want to manifest these things outside of ourselves, then we have to have a inner world that is reflective of that. And that's where we fall into the high priestess. So the high priestess energy is right here, is reflective of the feminine flow of energy, of commanding the feminine flow by going within, by listening to your inner voices, by balancing the light with the dark. This is a lot to do with the shadow work side of things. So if you've got the high priestess card, it's going to say go within and listen to your higher self. And you have that answer already within yourself. So it's about taking that step back to be able to listen to the voice that you already have within you. And it's about the feminine intuition that you have within this. So you can see the imagery that within this card, there is the pomegranates in her background there, which is very symbolic of the story that we have spoken about in Circle of the Cora to Persephone journey, how she moves through her shadows by with the symbolic tasting of the pomegranate seeds, okay, and accepting her shadow self and accepting the darker parts of herself by taking that into herself. So this is the high priestess, is accepting that shadow parts, accepting the light with the dark, and that you are whole being by having both light and dark. So this is that what's without is also reflected within. So that's like going within and knowing all parts of yourself are welcome and worthy. Okay, she is very intuitive. She is very much, she doesn't need to force. She doesn't need to command like the magician is the masculine flow of commanding and directing the energy. She is very much at home with just grounding into her energy. This is where you sink down into your base and you feel the weight of your body supported by the world beneath you, the world around you. You feel yourself held, you feel your energy anchored, and you feel yourself connecting in to that inner deity within. Okay, so the high priestess is all knowing and all accepting all parts of self, light and dark. Okay, so the third card would represent, once again, the feminine flow of energy. So it's always going to be in balance. We have masculine, feminine, and here we have the feminine energy of the Empress. And so this would be on this story of the Fool's journey, is when he meets, or when he is talking in the village with his mother. Once again, we have the pomegranates represented on her gown. Okay, so it's very much symbolic of the feminine goddess energy. Okay, we also have the fields of the wheat, but her feet is that she represents fertility. She represents what the earth can give in creation. Okay, and with this here, she is representing of the way that the Fool learns and understands unconditional love, the way that the Fool can understand and experience a way to be nurtured, accepted for all parts, just as the the Fool was introduced to all parts of self through the High Priestess. And this is the Empress showing the love of a mother, the love of saying that I can love and accept you just as you are. And you are still loved with all parts of self. Okay, so usually if the Empress card would come up in a reading, it's showing great nurturing, it's showing great mothering, and it's showing the unconditional love is unfolding. Okay, so it could be the learning of that. It could be the welcoming into motherhood, that you are about to learn what it means to love unconditionally. You are about to step into that role. And it could be of mothering yourself. It could be of mothering a new baby that's coming in. So the Empress card can often mean that there's a new baby on the way, because it is all about that nurturing. It is all about that mothering energy, the matronly energy of love, loving unconditionally, and you are loved and held exactly as you are. Okay, and then the Fool comes along and meets the Emperor. Okay, so just like the Empress was the motherly energy, the Emperor comes across as the fatherly energy. Okay, so if we think about this as the feminine and the masculine flow, not so much just the mother and the father, but if we talk about the feminine flow of the give and the accepting and the flow and the nurturing, and then we have on the other, the polar end of that, the Emperor, which is holding the structure, which is holding authority, and these are the guidelines or the rules, and this is what you need to do to be able to meet your goals, to stay in alignment. So it is very much about authority. And so if we think of the Emperor as meeting somebody that is maybe quite stern, it is meeting somebody who is that authority figure, holding the rules, holding the boundaries and the guidelines which you need to live to or align to be able to stand in the world. So if we think about this in a base chakra energy, okay, so this is really about that tribal energy of coming back to the mother and the father. The mother says that you are accepted and you belong, you are here exactly as you are. And then the Emperor is that father energy, or the masculine energy that comes through here is like, this is the code of honor. This is what you need to do to follow the tribe. This is our values, and this is what you need to do to follow along and stay in alignment with our values and keep on path. Okay, so that's the Emperor energy. So if you were to come across the Emperor energy in a spread, you would think, is this a father? Is this a dominant masculine figure in your life? And that doesn't have to be a male. It could be a dominant female figure in your life, like a boss or somebody else that's trying to direct and make you align to values and withhold honor. Okay, stick to the guidelines, stick to the rules, don't go off track. Okay, and then next we move along to the Fool meets the Hierophant. Now the Hierophant represents the institution. So the Hierophant represents the institution, or the values and the institution that holds all the knowledge. So you could think about this, if you were looking at this from a village standpoint, that he has learned about the law of attraction. He has learned about his power to manifest and to create the life that he wants. And he understands that he needs to be able to command his will to be able to bring to him what he wants. He understands that he has all of this power within, and by accepting the light with the dark, he knows that he belongs and he is accepted exactly as he is, and he has met his the masculine roles to stay within the structure and be aligned with that to keep things moving steadily. Of course, we need the stability of the Emperor as well. And then the Hierophant comes in and says that I can teach you. I see that you are seeking knowledge. Okay, you are now awakened and open, and you are moving into the awareness of everything that you are able to move in this one. You want it. You are seeking and you are craving and yearning for this energy. You are seeking more and more learning and light to flood your body, and just you want to know about the history, you want to know about the cultures and where you've come from, and what has happened, and what are the traditions, and where do our values, where do they come from? And it could be even about the stories. Looking at, you could look at the Hierophant as the Akashic records, the library of your soul, and what is etched into your bones. And it could be that yearning to go back through the generational patterns and the stories and bring all of that knowledge into your body. By learning, you're seeking information, and the Hierophant says that I can teach you. And so this might be where you start reading. You start collecting all of the information that you can about the journey. You might start reading all about the law of attraction. You might start reading all about spirituality and all of the different energies and the chakras, and you're delving into all the information, and you get your first set of tarot, and you get your first oracle cards, and you're on this hunt for information. You're on this hunt to expand your mind and open yourself up to all the possibilities. Okay, but it's also at this time when you start to question your values. So sometimes we have the Hierophant in reverse. I'll talk more about reverse cards when we get to the reading component, but the way that I read it is, if a card comes up reversed, it means that the energy is not free flowing. So in this instance, my experience with the Hierophant card is also the rebelling against the institution, the rebelling against the mainstream, the rebelling against what the mother and the father and the values and the code of honor have told you what to live by. And in that instance, you're saying, oh, I feel like there's something different. I feel like my path is going to be different, and I'm learning that I want to break away from this paradigm that I have grown up in. So this can be very much, as you can see in this card, related to religion. If you have grown up in a very religious household, there's been a lot of pressure to conform to the values and the code of honor that is associated to religion, that is associated to, we all, when you are in this family, you grow up and you take on the family business. That's another one as well of the Hierophant, is that following that line of honor. And you might say, oh, I just don't want to. I feel like there's something else for me to do. And that is the Hierophant in reverse. That is that energy saying that I'm going to rebel against this institution. I'm going to rebel against this code of honor that has been set into tradition. Okay. So it depends. Where are you at on this journey? Once again, I'll check in with yourself and say, have you come across that yet? Have you delved into the traditions and the cultures that you've grown up in, and the stories that you have been socially conditioned to accept in the society that you live in? And are you comfortable with that? Does it align with your values? And you feel like, yeah, I feel really good about my culture. I feel really good about my family values, and I want to really learn about that more and bring more of that into my life today, and teach my children and bring this forward and share it with the world? Or is it like, oh, I don't like that story, that doesn't really align with what I think, let's try and change that? And then that brings up some other stories as well. Okay, so then the Fool continues on his journey and learns about relationships with another. So we have the Lovers card here. So the Lovers card is when we are stepping out of that involvement with self, the involvement with your own journey, and you add in another person's energy to the paradigm. So this could be the first interaction with the like, if we think of the Fool as a young adult moving out into the world, and then their first relationship. Okay, the first relationship is that awakening to other people's feelings and relating to another, that sacred union coming together. And as you can see in this card, we've got the Adam and the Eve here, and the snake in the background, the temptation and the guidance, the changes, everything that can happen to help you to really entwine your energy with another, and think about your dynamic when you are married against another, and how do you relate to another person. So this is really about that sacral energy. We're moving up from the base energy of the tribal energy and where you've come from, and your belonging and your codes of honor, and then we're moving into the sacral energy of relating to another, okay, of holding your own energy up against another, and we're not moving in like, is this going to be drawing on the codependency? Is this going to be drawing on your ability to stand within your own power? Is this going to align with the fact that you can stand hand in hand and support each other to both rise together as equals? So you can see both these figures in this card are standing with their arms open towards each other and towards the sky above of what may be they are equals in this page. Okay, so have a think about this card here, and your first, like, it could be like, if it's the very beginning of the story of growing up, is the very first serious relationship that you had, and how did that awaken you to your relations with others? So that's a good way to look at this fool's journey, the hero's journey, as in how does it relate to your own life and growing up? You could look at it as a story of growing up. You could look at it as, and then we get to a point where we think we've got it all in the world, and then it comes crashing down and we're the fool again. So where are you at that journey? So the next card comes through, and I like to think of this one as it feels like this arrogant energy of, you know, I've had a relationship, I've been out in the world, I've traveled, I'm getting a bit more aware about what's going on with the universe, and, you know, I'm getting to know some stuff, I'm doing pretty good, I'm going well, I've got some success and victories under my belt, and I feel like I'm in command, I can charge this chariot through. And you start to get a bit of momentum up, and you start thinking that you're like, the arrogance comes through, but it's also thinking that you're on this, it's all good. And we've all had those moments where we think, you know, and it gets to that point where things may be going a bit too good, and the wheels start to get a bit wobbly because you're charging so fast and you're moving so fast, and, you know, when does the wheel start to fall off? And sometimes we can be like charging into things a bit too readily and a bit too aggressively. And so the Chariot, although it is a card of victory and you're going great guns, you're charging along and you've got so much energy behind you and you're feeling good, I'm going to give you a warning here that this is an energy of like an energy burst that's going to bring you back into check with the reality in a moment. Okay, so it's often in these times where we feel like we might put ourselves out there a bit. So you might feel like, yep, I'm feeling brave, I'm on this new mission, I've just leapt off the cliff of the Fool and I've jumped into this journey full on. I understand about the law of attraction and where I'm going and what I can manifest. I understand that I have this power within that I'm going to command, and I've learned a lot about where I've been. And let's see. And you're out in the world now, and so you're putting it, this is like your first step of putting yourself out there. This is your first leap of faith of going, all right, with confidence, I'm going to jump out there and do it. My first public announcement or something like that. And that's great. I'm not going to say don't do that, because we all need to put ourselves out there. But what happens is that sometimes it's not received the way that we wanted it to. Sometimes we put our heart and soul into something and we get crickets. There's like we thought we would get this big response from the world when we put ourselves out there or we take a chance, but nobody really notices because it's not their story, it's not their show. And so we might get taken down a few pegs. We might feel like the wheels on our chariot have fallen off and we have done a bit of a spin out or a crash. And so we get a bit of a hiccup in the road. We have charged in and it hasn't always gone to plan. So what happens then is that we come across strength. So we begin to learn compassion and courage when things don't always go the way that we wanted them to. So this is very much related to the story of, I know that Brené Brown talks about this in her story about vulnerability, is that, you know, if you're, and the quote from Roosevelt is that if you're going to be out in the arena, that you're probably going to be torn down. Okay, it's along those lines. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've read that. But it's going to be, if you're putting yourself out there, you may come across a point where you get torn down and you feel defeat and you feel the crushing realizations that set in. And then if you're on the right track, you're going to keep pushing. You're going to have the compassion to keep moving forward with courage and with strength. And this is the lesson that comes through here, is that getting back up again after a stumble, that getting back up and pushing through hard times and knowing that you can keep going. So we can look at the card here with the symbolism of the lion representing courage as well. So this person, we can look at this person in this card as the Fool, and the Fool is taming the lion. The Fool is the Fool opening the mouth? Is the Fool closing the mouth? That's up to your interpretation. What are they doing with that lion? Are they trying to shut it down, or are they trying to open it, get something out of it? But the ideal to take away from this is that there will be times when you stumble. So when this card comes along, you think, this is the moment in my journey where I have put myself out there. I've made a leap of faith and I have done a bit of a stumble, but I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to have compassion for self. I'm going to understand that I am human and I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep striving for my goal. Okay, for that, bringing in that romanticism of the Fool again and saying, I'm going to trust that I've got the strength to do this, and that I want to keep going. So it's very representative of just keep going. You've got this, you've got it within you. I know it's hard right now, but this is just a stumble. You put yourself out there, and I'm so proud of you for making that step. And I'm sorry it didn't all go the way that you thought when you were charging through that with the chariot, but you've got it. Just keep moving. Put the wheel back on the chariot and keep going. And you'll say, no, I really just need to go back within myself and work out what I want to do. I really just need some time of quiet and reflection to make sure that I really am on the right track, because before I really just charged in head first and I didn't really think things through. And so I'm feeling a bit wounded and I'm feeling a bit shy of this now, and I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So he meets the Hermit, and the Fool takes the lesson from the Hermit that it's okay to retreat. It's okay to take some downtime, some rest, some time to restore. And it's just like a Mercury retrograde energy that comes through and says, take a moment to gather yourself, gather your strength, and then charge forward again when you're ready. So this, you can see in the symbolism of this card, the Hermit, that they are shining the light. They're looking for the way. They haven't shut up. They're not hiding in a cave of darkness and pretending that the world's not there. It is just, give me some space. Let me retreat. Okay. Let me put my protective cloak back on and just withdraw my energy a little bit. Okay, but I'm still commanding with the staff. The staff here is still commanding the energy. Like, you can see this as a reflection or a drawing through the imagery of the magician, where he has the staff up to the sky. I'm still commanding. I'm holding it and grounding though. I'm holding it and grounding. I'm going to anchor myself back in. I've got the light and I'm going to shine the way through, but I'm just going to be moving at my own pace. I'm going to bringing myself back into grounding, restoring my energy, getting my path back on track, making sure I have everything that I need to move forward so that I can move on the right way. Okay. And so what that represents is to do that, we need to, and then what happens when you emerge from the Hermit? While you're in that stage of being the Hermit, you are actually realizing, you're coming to terms with the fact that the Wheel of Fortune is what has just been happening here. And so we have good times, we have bad times, what goes around comes around, and that, just because I had a setback, just because I had a bit of a stumble and I felt myself wounded and I wanted to take a break, does not mean it's all over. I can come back and have my second wind. I'm going to put myself back out there into the world. You know, I'm going to try again. And it's just like the seasons. The Wheel of Fortune for me is very, very representative of the seasons, working on a nature-based rhythm here. The Wheel of Fortune is that there is a time for rest, and then there is a time for rebirth, bursting forth with the energy like a summer again, the fruiting, the abundance, and then the harvesting, and the comebacking in again. Okay, so this is very representative of the give and the take of life, as well as the fact that, you know, it doesn't have to all be good times, and it's not all going to be bad times. So just allow the ups and the downs of life to flow. Okay, so just that's what is learned from going back in with the retreat, is to say that, okay, I've rested, I have done some retrospection work through this, and I can see what happened, what went wrong, and I'm going to try again. So what happens while you're in that space is the Justice card that comes up. Okay, let's move through the Justice. So the thoughts that come up while in that moment of rest, the moment of the introspection, is Justice, is do I deserve this? Am I good enough? All of those thoughts that arise with here. You can see that the Justice card is commanding with the sword. It is that is the very representative, as we will go through the suits. The swords is that mentality, the mindset. It comes in with a battle with that. The Justice comes in as, am I doing the right thing? Did I really do the right thing when I jumped off that cliff? I don't know anymore. I'm questioning myself. Am I in the right space here? This is the balance that you can see with the scales. I'm weighing up the to and the fro, weighing up the pros and the cons. All of this is going. So you've done the Wheel of Fortune. You've seen that, you know, yeah, it is going to be okay. There are good times, there are bad. But at the same time, I'm just like, oh, did I do the right thing? I'm really questioning myself, and I'm really questioning because I have maybe gone against my values. I return back to checking in with the Emperor. Okay, the thoughts come up with that as well. You can see the stance is very, very reflective of the Emperor card. If I just flick back to that, the Hierophant and the Emperor both sitting there in red cloaks. The Emperor, the Hierophant, and then we come through to the Justice as well. And it's very much reminding of the values, the rules, the guidelines that you were supposed to live with. You were brought up with these societal conditions. Are you living in alignment? Where are your values? Are you living in alignment with the institution of what you've grown up with? Are you going against your traditions? Are you doing the right thing? Are you sure? It's all of these questions that come in and tempt us and make us question ourselves, make us question if we are worthy, if we're on the right track, and what are we going to do? Okay, so that all comes up and we have to sit in that. It's very representative of, as well, you can see the two pillars on either side, which is also flicked back to, it's also there in the Hierophant. It is also there in the High Priestess, which is going to remind you as well to come back to your inner self. Okay, so when we're up into Justice, come back to your inner self, and then check in with your intuition. Check in with what is your values and where do you sit in this as well. Okay. We always come up against those questioning self, the self-doubt. So then what happens when we're questioning ourselves and we come up against that? We're sitting in that moment. We come up against the Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man is that I just don't know what to do anymore. I feel like I am stuck. I feel like I am suspended between two worlds, and I just don't know where to put my feet anymore. I'm just hanging. Okay, you can see that the glowing of the light behind the head here, for me intuitively, that comes out as the expansion of ideas, and it just means like, you know, just give me a moment. I'm having a perspective shift at the moment. I'm having a shift of perspective, and I'm going to have to just surrender, because I can't do anything else. I'm just hanging here. I'm just got to surrender and be with what is. and allow these revelations. This is the moment of revelations. You know, the things that arise from the stories, the patterns that you're releasing and letting go of are coming to the surface, and you're thinking, oh, I think that I might have to let some of those thoughts go. I think I might have to step outside of these old paradigms and create something new for myself. So I'm hanging, I'm suspended, but at the same time, I just feel like because I just need to find a new perspective. This is why he's hanging upside down. He's looking for a new perspective. He's looking for a new way of viewing the world because he's changing. He's putting up his values against what he's been taught, what he has been lived through, the societal beliefs, and coming up through all of the beliefs and the intuition of what's come through from the high priestess has been telling him, what he has learned from that, coming up against the justice of questioning self and understanding self-worth. This is very much the solar plexus energy here. So we're in the solar plexus energy of self-worth, and do I follow my gut? Do I take on board this new perspective? This is like I'm hanging in a moment, and I remember feeling this in my own journey of that moment where I said, I feel like I am in a doorway, and you know, like I felt like there was this imagery of a door frame on a cloud, and the door frame was like a pane that I was just hanging onto this door frame, standing on a cloud, just a door frame, like it would be like a Monsters Inc. or something like that, just a door frame on a cloud up in the middle of the sky, not being able to see anything around me. So it's very much taking it back to the energy of the Fool standing on the edge of the cliff. And then it is thinking about, do I step forward again, or do I hang on to this doorway which is giving me a little bit of safety and security? Is that stepping forward into a new world? So to do that requires, oh, where are we? Missed a card there. Oh, we missed one. But we've got death in here, so I'll just bring that up onto the screen. I'll have to add that one in. The death card is what comes in next. So to do that, to let go and to view the new perspective and to move forward, we need to embrace the death of what was to embrace the new. Okay, so the letting go of something that wasn't working, that is not serving you, to be able to move forward into the new. So we can see the symbolism on this one is that the sun is rising over in the background. Okay, there is a new day coming. This is the death is striding forward on the white Gallant horse. He is moving towards the harvest and what will be coming, the new. So it is about, with representative of the harvest, is that you have to cut the corn that you have put so much effort into to be able to feast. And if you don't, then it will rot and die and the field will be useless and will not grow anything new. So this is coming back to the harvest and the energy of, you need to release the old, you need to declutter and get rid of everything that is not serving you to make room for the new to flow in. And so you're about to rebirth. The death card is not a bad omen. The death card is a beautiful omen of rebirth and releasing what is no longer serving you, letting go of all of the shit and embracing the new to come. Okay, so think about this in the harvest. What happens in the harvest is you cut the grain. You cut the grain, the corn, and you are able to feast. Then you brings the feast. Okay, so bear with me one moment. Okay, that's fine. And so that's what comes through with that there is we need to have the death to be able to bring through the rebirth. Okay, we need to have the let go and the release to bring that forth into a new day, the new light. So if that death comes up in a spread for you, please do not be fearful. Do not be fearful of the death, because we need it. So what I was going to add to that is, it is the law of the vacuum. Okay, so like we were talking about the law of attraction earlier, the law of the vacuum is that to be able to create the space for new energy to flow to you, you need to create a vacuum. So that means you need to create space by getting rid of the old. So that means that if you you've got a cupboard full of broken cups, you've got a cupboard full of chipped mugs and broken cups with no handles, and they're just useless, and every time you open up the cupboard to get a mug out, you think, oh, I hate all these mugs, I wish I could get new ones. But every time you open the cupboard, you can't even put another mug in there because it's full of broken mugs. Now, what would happen if you were to say to like you've got the death card here, and it's a very simple explanation to say that, okay, I'm going to clear out all of the mugs that don't hold any water, that don't hold any tea. They're all cracked, they can't hold them, they've got no handles, they're broken. I'm going to get rid of all of the cups or the mugs that are no longer serving me. And then you open the cupboard and there's room. And so then somebody comes over and says, oh, I saw that you needed some new mugs. Here's some new mugs. They're new and they work. And so then you've got mugs that actually work. You've got some mugs that will hold your tea without spilling. You've got mugs that you can hold without burning your hand because it's too hot. You've got mugs that work. You've got mugs that you wanted because you have created a vacuum. You've got rid of what doesn't serve you to allow what does come into your life. Okay, so the next card after the death is the Temperance card. So what do we learn from this one here? So temperance is about letting it be. We learn to just let it be. We let go when we go through the death. We let go, we surrender, we let the universal source energy come in and take care of it for us. You can see that her feet are in the water just as they are in the star card, which is coming, which is very much symbolic of the grounding and the flow and the hope that comes through. She is pouring from one cup into another, which means she is taking care of self. Okay, so this is learning that when I take care of myself, good things will bloom. Okay, when I take care of myself and I look after, I stay in my lane, I focus on what I need to do. I do my meditation, I eat my good food, I get good sleep, I do all of my basic survival needs, I have good mindset, I am working on my goals, I'm striving, I am allowing what doesn't serve me to fall away. That allows me temperance of just being with what is and allowing what will be will be. So when this card comes up, it's take a step back, focus on your own lane, and let everything just flow. Flow is a beautiful word for this one here. So how many times have you experienced in your life a moment where every message was just telling you to surrender? Every message that you received was just saying there's nothing that you can do right here in this moment. Everything is just telling you to just look after you, make sure that you're on the right track, and everything else will just unfold as it should. You are exactly where you need to be. Allow it to flow. Allow it to unfold in due time. Everything will work out as it should. Exactly as that's saying to you. And then we get the it's like a parallel to this as well, and it's very parallel to the Lovers card, where the Adam and Eve once again were standing there under the tree with their arms open to each other, and now they are chained to this. So it's very much this card here is what you're not going to keep pushing, you're not going to keep striving. You can't just sit back and let it be. You've got to keep pushing. You've got to keep on accumulating or collecting or so this is very much about you could think about this as consumerism. So what are you consuming? What are you trying to control? What are you trying to force or make happen? What are you trying to direct with your energy. It's very much an opposite to the temperance of flow and let it go. And this is that, like, no, I can't let it go. I'm going to force it. I'm going to command it. You need to do as I've told you. This isn't going the way that I wanted. I'm going to push it. Okay, I'm going to command it. I'm going to make it work because it has to. So then we had to reflect back on the stories of the emperor and the empress and the family lines that come through there, the stories of the societal conditions that the Hierophant was teaching us as well, is that why do we need to have so much control here? Why do we need to be so restrictive and so directing and forcing this energy where it should not be forced? Okay, so we can really see that the energy of this card does not feel happy. The energy of this card does not feel relaxed. It feels really, really strained. It feels really, really pressured. Of course, they're under chains. They've got torches of fire held to them. They are under pressure. This could be reflective of a situation where you have put a lot of pressure on yourself. You have put a lot of pressure on yourself to push, 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 get it done. Don't sit back and just let it flow. You need to be direct in this. You need to be in control. You need to be forcing it. Give it a bit more direction. Get it back under control. Put your foot down. Okay, demanding. So this could be, if there are so many different ways that we can look at this. You could look at this in a relation aspect, knowing that there is the Adam and Eve corresponding of the Lovers card here. It could be reflective of that. Are you trying to force a relationship? Are you trying to control a partner? Are you trying to control yourself or your role within this? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself, or not listening to your limits, your boundaries, all of these things, or not respecting somebody else's limits or boundaries? Very, very much which way would it go there, depending on what other cards come up in the spread. And it's very much that situation of, what are you trying to control? What are you not allowing to flow? And what are you trying to direct the energy of by forcing, consuming, and really trying to command? Okay, you're trying to push things when they don't want to be pushed. Bit of an uphill battle, it seems. And it doesn't really feel like anybody's going to win from this. Okay, it doesn't really feel like there's going to be a winner from this, because it's just you trying to direct and push. And what happens when you push is a lot of the energy of the universe will push back. Okay, this is a universal law, is that when we push, when we command or demand of the energy, it seeks that. It's a reflection of the energy of when you are wanting and when you are forcing. It comes from an energy of lack. So we come back from that, and we come back to an energy of lack, and it's just like you feel like you're coming from a basis of lack and a basis of fear when you are controlling and when you are pushing. So it's very much a reflection of check yourself. Check yourself. You don't need to be pushing right now. What are you pushing? Why are you trying to control it? Okay, this often comes right before we get through to the Tower. So the Tower is very much representative of what I would call a Ragnarok. Is that the world is going to come crashing down around you. The world as you know it, all of the paradigms of the castle that you grew up in, and the world that you knew, the society that you knew, the beliefs that you stood by, everything's going to fall down around you. Relationships are getting thrown out the window. Okay. Everything's on fire, it is burning, it is crashing, and everything is going to come tumbling to the ground. Okay, so your world is about to just completely be torn down, and everything is about to change. Everything that you thought you knew is going to be uprooted, and you are in a moment of absolute chaos. This is a moment of massive transition in your life. But you know what? It's like the Death card. Very, very similar to the Death card is when you realize that you're letting go. But this one's going to be causing a bit more chaos. This one's going to be causing a bit more heartbreak, a bit more devastation and despair, because you feel like it's being torn from underneath you. Whereas the Death feels like it was a bit more of a choice. Okay. The Death card feels like it was a bit more of a choice that you were letting it go willingly. You were understanding that it was time and it was going to go. Whereas this one's just been like a fire's just ripped through your life, and it said, well, if you're not going to let go of all of this shit, then I'm going to tear it away from you. This is the universe coming in and saying, that's not serving you. You told me that you didn't want it. You told me that you wanted more from your life, so I'm clearing the way for you. I'm clearing it all out, because, you know, it's not going to get you to the path of enlightenment that you told me that you were on. So I'm going to come through and rip out anything that is getting in your way. So this is where we see career changes, because, you know, you weren't supposed to be in that role. You weren't supposed to be on that pathway into the corporate world. You are going to have something major happen that was going to force you to quit. Is it an injury? Is it family needing you? Is it something that you need to do for yourself? Do you get made redundant? This is on a career path. But it could be a relationship. Is that you get a breakup? You're falling out with everybody around you that you thought were there for you. These things happen to just make us wake up to ourselves and wake up to our own strengths. Okay, to tear us down and bring us back to ground zero again. Back to tearing all of the stuff around us that no longer serves, to bring us back to our base. Okay, so it can feel really, really harsh. The Tower energy can feel really, really devastating. Okay, but what I really want you to take away from that is that what comes after is the star. The star is representative of hope and optimism. So the Fool has just been through an absolute devastation. The Fool has been torn down, lost everything, and then realizes there is a glimmer of hope. Starts to see that new, like, I feel like this is really, really symbolic of the dark moon period, of the deep retrospection, or the feeling of really, really deep feeling the emotions of everything arising to the surface through the dark moon. And then we get the slither of new moon light, just a slither of energy that's peeking back through at us. And that's the star is shining and saying, sparkle, sparkle, I can see your light. And you start saying, I think I might agree with you. I can see a little bit of light or a glimmer of hope here too. And then the more you focus on that hope and the optimism grows around you, it's just like that newness is rising back up again. And we start to get like that feeling of the Chariot starts to come turning in. I'm going to get my wheels on. I'm getting rolling again. You know, I've got new hope, and I'm getting more ideas are sparkling through me, and I'm getting more inspiration is coming through. I'm okay. I feel like I am on the right track, and this is what I do really want to be doing, and this is how I'm going to get it done. Okay, so it's a night, and it is glimmering with hope and opportunities and ideas and inspiration for everything that you could possibly achieve. And it's you can see that she's in the water again. She's got the hope. It is the flow, accepting of the emotions. She is pouring the water into the pool, giving back as well. This is what that comes through. You start to give back again. You start to feel like you've got something more to give. Okay, you've been through some big tumultuous changes and transitions, and you've learned a lot of lessons at this point, and you start to give back. You start to give back some teaching, start to give back, and you can see that she's pouring into the pool, and she's also pouring back onto the earth. So from that you can see that she is giving back to the pool of the collective, and she's giving back to her grounding and her roots as well. So she's able to give both. She's able to support both. Really, really important to be able to do both of those things. Okay, so then what happens is that the moon. The moon represents the illusions and the dreams and the state of what is real and what is an illusion, what is a facade, what am I making up? Okay, so this can really be reflective of the intuition. Moon is very much about the intuition and trusting the intuition. So you can see the Fool is begun to to walk back through the woods in the night, and the moonlight is shining down into the woods, but there are so many shadows. There are so many shadows, and you start to think, what's lurking in the shadows? Is everything as it seems, or are some things looking a bit different to what I expected? So some things are not as they seem when you see them in the light of the moon. Okay, so some things are different to what you thought they originally were, and you're coming to terms with the fact that some things that you believed in the past are different. You've got these new ideas, and you're seeing things in a new light, and you're seeing some different sides of people and things. So you can see that we've got the scorpion in here as representative of the Scorpio energy. It's very, very deep emotionally, and it's very much symbolic for me of the shadow work that you would do to go within. And the two dogs here barking up at the moon as well is to really come back into the dog that was at the beginning of the Fool's Journey. We're going to see it mirrored here as well, and they look like they've grown up. It's not so much a puppy anymore. So we've got a matured spirit guide is here warning you. Is it warning you? It's barking and saying, you know, pay attention. Check out all these shadows, and you know, don't be fooled by the illusion. Look at everything in both light and dark, and see what you feel into the intuition of that, and see what do you feel. Okay, go with that, because not everything is always as it seems. Trust your intuition. Have it looking out for those that may be fooling you or trying to pull the wool over your eyes, at the same time as really owning your story of where you've come from and where you're going, and knowing that you can see that path traveling all the way through. You've been on a long road. You've known a lot now. You've moved through a lot, so you can see the whole picture a lot clearer now. You can see the light shining on the whole landscape, and you're looking down on it. See from the face in the sun, the moon, see that as representative of the Fool. The Fool looking across the whole landscape and saying, I can see the dips and the folds in the land here. I can see what's real from what's not. And I'm going to be able to trust that gut. I'm going to trust the spirit guides, being the dogs here, that, you know, to trust their knowing as well, trusting my inner instinct. And then we move through to the sun. So the energy of the sun is absolute bliss. You know, the sun is just that vitality, the vibrant energy of success, of everything feels fabulous. You know, I can look out on the world and see what's true from what's not, and I can just, this is like a card of gratitude and abundance, and everything is just going my way. You know, this is the Fool. It's once again this little child on the back of the horse. So you can remember that horse from the Death card, and it's that renewed life, and it's that energy of the inner child, the spark of the connection to joy, and it is completely in alignment with self because it is joyful and playful and happy and joyful and vibrant. That's the energy. So if you get the Sun card, means that you are winning. You are absolutely winning. Well done. You have come so far, and you have achieved so much, and you have so much to be grateful for. And then we come through to the Judgment card. And the Judgment card is coming down to say, you're looking up to source, you're looking to source energy, and it could be to God, to Goddess, to universe, and saying, you know, thank you. I am grateful for all that you have brought to me. I know that we work in alignment. We are as one, and the Judgment is here to say that, you know, we are deserving of your love. We are deserving of everything that you bring to me. I am grateful for all of the abundance in my life. I see all of the abundance in every slither of hope coming back from the star, the hope, the deaths. I can see the gratitude in what I had to release. I can see the gratitude for the lessons, and I can pay praise to you that we have been on this path together, and that you have shown me the way, that I have trusted universal source energy to support me. I have trusted and I have been shown the way to release. I have been shown the way to the joy of the sun, the joy of the vibrant gratitude and abundance. And the Judgment card is here to say that you are blessed. Okay. And then the final card on the journey, card 21, is my favorite, the World. Okay. And the World is just to say you are walking on sunshine. You have the world, the world is your oyster, and you have everything in the fingertips. You can see her, she's commanding with 2 wands. She is fire twirling. She is just up in the air. She is beautiful and abundant and just a beautiful goddess unto herself. She knows her power. She knows her strength. She is encircled by that wreath of life that is representative to me of the wheel of fortune, that she is supported, she is abundant, she is free. Okay, she is understanding true enlightenment. Okay, so is this the end or is this beginning? I think that it is a new beginning, because it is coming back around, and it is coming back in around to give you the freedom to step out into your new journey. You've got that romanticism again of the Fool, is to say, where's my next cliff? What's my next journey? Okay. So the World there, we've got a lot of different symbolism that's coming around from the edges here. With the eagle, the man, the Taurus, the lion. So we've got a lot of different things that can come into that. It can be through astrologically. I won't go into all of that right now because, yeah, not as familiar about the astrological symbols that are in all the cards. Is something that you've got to delve right a lot into, and I won't go into that right now. But we've got the Leo and the courage represented here. The Taurus is the grounding represented in here. We've got the eagle, which is very much representative of the freedom that this card brings, and the man here is representative of self and the comfortability of self and the power, the self power. So that's very much in alignment with this the sacral energy of personal power as well. Is just completely comfortable with self-worth and personal power journey. Okay, so now the discussion that we have for you for today's lesson, lesson 2, is what stage of the Fool or the hero's journey do you find yourself on at the moment? Do you recognize when you have experienced any of these life milestones that have been represented in these lessons? Has anything come up and think, oh, I remember when I was going through this, that must have been my tower moment, or that must have been, I remember when I had my first long-term relationship and how I had to discover how to be with somebody else and it wasn't all about me, or any of these things that came up for you, the story of the paradigm shift, or walking away from your family values or anything like that that rings true for you. Can you see how this story plays out for so many different journeys towards enlightenment? There's so many different ways that you can replace this session, this journey, and so many different. You could have it as the journey of growing up. You could have it the journey of like just discovering spirituality and enlightenment, or anything like that. And the next lesson, for lesson 3, will be the court cards as messengers and the suit of pentacles. So this is where we'll start the minor arcana next week, and we will go through the lesser secrets when we do what do the court cards mean. And so we've got the page, the knight, the queen, and the kings, and then we'll go through the suit of pentacles in detail. So I look forward to chatting to you again then. Okay. So I'll say goodbye to that now, and I'll stop the recording.